Boy, do I have a treat for you on this next episode of Digest This.
Welcome to Digest This, the show that helps you revolutionize your digestive health. Here are your hosts, Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato.
Hello and welcome to Digest This. I'm Dr. Liz Cruz and I've got the beautiful Tina Nunziato sitting right next to me. If you're watching this on YouTube, which hopefully you are, and if you're not, you need to, because we have a guest on today, Naturopath Alvin Harbour, who has joined us, and we're so excited. We are so excited. He doesn't know what he's in for, but anyways. Alvin, welcome.
All he
Thank
knows
you.
right now is he's squished between two women. Beautiful women.
Could be in worse place.
Exactly.
Oh, so
welcome to the show, Alvin.
Thank you so much.
Alvin, we're so excited to have you, and please check us out on YouTube. Audio is fine also, but check us out on YouTube because you need to see all three of us. But anyways, we're very excited. Alvin, welcome. Thanks for taking the time to join us. And so I'm going to tell you really quickly how I met Alvin, because I really want him to have the majority of the time here. We took our children to an orthodontist. And one day, Tina and I were waiting there for our kids, and I happened to look over, and I saw like an office, and it said IVOLV, and there was just a lot of like different signage, I guess, and different things that were going on. Hyperbaric, like all sorts of stuff, epigenetics. I was like, what is this? We've been coming here to this orthodontist for years.
Yeah. A lot of children in braces.
Yeah. And I had never ever seen this place. And so I kind of go up to the window because he had some brochures there, and I take a brochure, and no sooner had I walked up to the window that Alvin comes out. He comes out and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" and invites me in. And that
was the end of that.
That was the end of that. That's right. That's where it all started. And this was back in November of 2024, and here we are now at the end of May. It's been about 6 months exactly that we've known Alvin, and honestly, and I say this from the depth of my heart, he's like family. He really is. We've grown to love Alvin and his beautiful girlfriend Linda, who unfortunately can't be with us because she's in Sicily. I mean,
that and there's not enough room.
Right, we'd have to sit her on Alvin's lap. But when she comes back from Sicily, we are going to get her in here. That's right, and we'll get her in here. But yeah, let's get started. Alvin, tell us what you do. Tell us about you. Give us some background, and let's just dive in.
So I'm a naturopath by certification, and I have degreed in multiple things. One of those being biochemistry, and I've basically searched my whole life trying to find cures to things that people thought were incurable. I struggled when I was in my 30s with some inflammatory conditions in my colon, and had some scary events that really it set me up and set me back at the same time. A lot of things were going on in my life at that time, high stress, lots of toxicity through environmental toxicity from where I was working in a lab, and just, and just relationship stuff and things like that. So it caused me to fall into a phase of where I had an autoimmune condition, and it scared the heck out of me. So when I went to the doctor and they did the colonoscopy on me, I had these large polyps all through my colon.
And you were how old?
I was 30.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
And what were you doing for work at that time?
I was a petrochemist at the time. I worked in a lab in a refinery, testing and finding vapor pressures basically of gasolines, diesels, pentanes, heptanes, and our lab was not.
That sounds very toxic.
It was not certified for. We didn't have vent hoods. We didn't have much of those things that we needed.
Wow.
And because it's just kind of out in the country, and we were not subject to a lot of the OSHA rules there, so. It was a different world,
Yeah, for sure.
But I grew up in the farming industry with, where we sprayed everything from paraquat to Roundup that had full of glyphosates and things like that. And so that was my life, growing up. I had several family members die of cancer just along the way. So if you name leukemia, prostate cancer, squamous cell carcinoma, you pick one. And we had one from everything.
So were your polyps precancerous?
Yeah, they're precancerous. Yeah, so it was. I was freaking out. I was hemorrhaging like I was giving a blood donation every day. So
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was
oh my
scary.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So, what led you? And I know I'm going to be skipping like really fast forwarding right now, and
Sure.
we can keep going, and we can go back at any time. But what led you? Like, how long have you been here in this area? Because I'm telling you, I've gone to that place many times, and I just saw you for the first time in November. So, have you been here just as of recently, or?
Yeah, so I moved here. Let's see. I guess full time moved here in June of 2024, I think.
Okay.
June 2024.
So almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And I rented the space. I actually rented the space previously and did a full remodel of my dogs and I basically. Plus, I had a little help from some friends along the way to come help me do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But the majority of the work was done by me and my dogs.
The space where you're in right
Yes,
now. Wow.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
so-
a beautiful space.
What part did you do versus the dogs?
The dogs actually were. We were a tag team effort on tearing out carpet. I needed help. Needed help to pull tension on the carpet so I could use the spade and get the carpet out, and they were the perfect tool.
That's awesome. That is so great.
I have video as well.
Yeah, he has beautiful dogs. He really does. Those beautiful dogs. Yeah. Okay, so tell us. So Alvin's clinic is called IVOLV Superhuman Wellness, right?
That's
Superhuman Wellness. So can you tell us a little bit about it and what led you to create this? Because he's the founder, the CEO of this company.
So what kind of led me to this was my dad died in 2019, before COVID even really started. He had sprayed some paraquat on it's really funny. I got him these Anasazi beans from this guy walking down the street in Taos, New Mexico. He had these two donkeys. One was named J-Lo and one was named Shakira. And they were written on, it was like black, he had like a black paint marker that he'd written on the sides of their hip.
Goodness.
And he had this wooden wagon. And I was like, it's interesting. Let's pull over and see what this guy has. He had honey and these ancient beans. These beans were actually 800 years old. He had found them in an old Anasazi ruin and then propagated those old, because no telling how
my
old
goodness.
the genetics actually were.
Yeah.
But they were not.
It's like Jack and the Beanstalk
Yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah. So, but they had no protection against any sort of sprays or crazy environment stuff. So, so whenever he had an attack of all of these grasshoppers eating all of his garden, he went out there. I'm just going to spray this paraquat and to spray on my other garden. He did not understand holistic medicine at all, or that toxins from glyphosates and things like that would cause you cancer. So, so he did that and killed all of his beans, and found out about a month later that he had stage 4 squamous cell carcinoma.
Wow.
There was a tumor about the size of the insert of a shoe from his underneath his ocular socket all the way down into his C5 vertebrae.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a short time. I moved in with him for several months and just spent time with him because it was the end of the road for him, basically. And
Wow.
we had a lot of things we got to talk about and work out through the years. You always have issues with your parents, no matter what. And my dad was one of those guys. He was a great human, but also very tough.
Yeah.
So the relationship needed to be mended. I had some things we had to go through before I wasn't able to talk to him again. So I just moved in with him
Cool.
and upset him, but.
It's nice that you had that time with him.
For
Yeah,
sure.
so in that, once because the family kind of went through all of that stuff with him, and I made a vow as soon as he was gone. I took a really good vacation. I sailed through the British Virgin Islands for about 14 days, and I made the decision that day that I was going to do something to help people in a way that was going to be dynamically shift and disrupt the way health is seen.
So how did you come up, your vision for what you have? And I keep saying that, we haven't told anyone yet what it is that you have in that clinic, but I will just tell you that it is magical. I actually became a patient of of Alvin's in November and have been there with him for the last 6 months, going through his treatment protocols. And it's been awesome. It's been miraculous. So tell us, how did you come up with the idea to put together these different modalities that you have in your clinic?
Some would say, I guess it would be maybe like a download or like just a vision. I don't know, wherever your faith lies. I kind of believe that God kind of set it in my hands and put it on my heart to build something, and I woke up how to build it and how it was all going to be laid out and exactly the types of equipment I needed to put in. A lot of the stuff I either invented or I shifted the processes of and modified it to make it my own. So everything in there has my hands deep into it, from the electrical systems all the way through the mechanics of it. So
it's amazing. Yeah, it's sometimes I call him the mad scientist, because like yesterday I walked in and there he is with his glasses and a magnifying thing, and he's looking and he's working away, and I'm like, what are you doing? So would you mind going in and telling our audience what it is that you have in this clinic that's
Sure.
so magical?
Yeah, maybe just a high level on all the different modalities and things that you have.
Perfect. So we call it the LVFT system. It's the light vibration frequency therapy. And what it does is basically recreates what God already gives us in the world around us and concentrates it so that we can utilize it to heal the body. Our bodies were built using vibration and sound and light. And God, from dust to dust, right? God created us from dust, which would be considered crystals, right? So we have the thing called the piezoelectrical effect. With pressure, creates energy. When we compress a crystal, we create energy, just like a Rolex watch battery, basically. So I have things like vibroacoustics, which recreate vibrations at different frequencies, and it has music along with it. So it stacks that 7 layers of music into one healing music that runs through your ears, and then you feel the vibrations of all of that, of the tone frequency, come up through your body. And on top of there's crystals on a mat that has Tesla coils and PEMF, which creates PEMF and radiant heat. So it warms the body. It feels like a nice warm hug, like you're just falling into a state of where you can actually just let go. You can just let your body be. And it takes you out of that fight or flight or fear response mode and puts you down into parasympathetic, and that's truly where our body heals. So when we're constantly stressed, we lack the ability to absorb micronutrients. And Dr. Caroline Leaf wrote a book. She's a neuroscientist from South Africa, and she talked about in that book that she studied thousands of patients, and 96% of the available macronutrients were blocked when people are in an elevated level of, had elevated cortisol levels, which is a stress response hormone.
Which most people are at most of the time.
Yeah, because we don't know how to relax. We have busy lives. We live we live day to day. We wake up in the morning, the sun's up, we have kids. We have work. We have, get them from school, take them to school, do their events, all the things. And we keep our kids so busy now with trying to make them successful and trying to get past the levels of, well, they have this diagnosis or that diagnosis, ADHD or autism or whatever it is, and it's rampant now in our world.
It is.
Everybody's got something.
We all have something, right? Or there's someone paid to tell us that we have something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that modality, that specific treatment, through the months that I've been coming to you, that's always the first one that you put me into.
Yes.
Is that what you typically do with everyone, all your patients? You put them into that first?
Correct. Yeah. So everything is arranged for a reason. So number one, we want to release the body from stress and let it drop down into that parasympathetic nervous system, and let it truly just live there for the next 30 to 40 minutes. From there, we pull them out. They go into hyperbaric, because now we've modulated the system. We've taught it that, hey, it's okay to heal. It's okay to feel okay. It's okay to have no stress, because no one really understands what that's like.
Right.
And explain the hyperbaric chamber.
So then next we go into hyperbaric. Hyperbaric's an amazing tool. Dr. Otto Warburg, he was a scientist, European scientist. He actually won the Nobel Prize for medicine in cancer because he proved that hyperbaric oxygen, high concentrations of oxygen, actually will destroy any disease in the body. Any disease. So we use hyperbaric for a lot of uses, but number one, we want to start to go in and destroy free radicals in the system. We want to get those zombie cells, those senescent cells. Those are like trigger words that people usually hear. If you hear anything from like Gary Brecka what's his name? Stephen, whatever his name is, I can't remember right now. But if you hear anything from the people that are working in the senescent cell realm, or if they're working with cancers, they'll talk a lot about these things that are these cells basically floating around that aren't being metabolized. They aren't being destroyed, and so the cell has a chance to go around and just infect others. So we use hyperbaric oxygen for that main purpose, to actually increase the metabolism of excessive glucose in the system. Most people don't understand, but when you get a PET scan and they say, well, you have cancer, we're going to bring you in and give you a PET scan. They put a dye in your body. That dye, it's not identifying cancer. It's actually identifying excessive amounts of non-metabolized glucose in the system. So as scary as they make it seem, the root may honestly be that you have mitochondrial dysfunction, that the little batteries that are inside your cells that are responsible for metabolizing glucose are just under functioning. So we can support that system by giving it excessive amounts of oxygen, saying, hey, let me revive your battery. Let me allow you to just start the metabolism process all over again, get the cell working like it's supposed to, and start sending better signals out to other cells.
And you usually sit in the hyperbaric chamber for how long?
For about hour, 90 minutes, hour to an hour and a half.
Okay.
So by the time I go into the hyperbaric chamber, I've been on the vibroacoustic mat. Usually I'm really relaxed and then ready for the journey. So we do the hyperbaric, and then
we have we have a full spectrum pulse wave light therapy bed. We call it the transformation tunnel. It is truly amazing.
It is.
It uses pulses of light at specific flash rates, and then it uses, with that light, it uses frequencies and stacks those onto basically like piggybacks them onto the light, and allows the light to be a vehicle to impart these frequencies into the system. So our body operates off of vibration, frequencies, light, sound, right? So whenever we can start talking the biological language of our system, then there's no translation needed. So just like there's a reason we weren't born speaking our mother language, right? There's a reason that we speak in tones. No child is 0 days old and comes out of its mother's womb saying, hello, how are you? That's a language that's taught, right?
Exactly.
And then also a language that has to be translated,
Yeah.
because our tone affects every single thing that we hear. Just like when you tell your kids or tell someone that's in your near vicinity, tell them something, and try it changing the tone and see how it lands.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because sometimes they look at you crazy, and sometimes like, oh, they really care for me.
Exactly.
So it's all in the frequency.
So awesome. Would you like to know a little bit more about maybe how all of this plays into your energy levels? I think that there's just so many topics and my brain is just exploding. But why don't we take a little break? We're gonna say goodbye right now, and then we're gonna connect with you on the next episode. So please, please, please continue on this journey with us. Continue on to the next episode. We're so grateful that you're here with us. Thank you so much for taking the time. Again, Naturopath Alvin Harbour, and he's not leaving. We're keeping him here for a little while longer. And then if you have any questions, if you want to connect with us, please go to our website, drlizcruz.com. You can schedule a free 30-minute wellness consult. That's free. It can be done from anywhere in the world because it's done over the phone. If you are interested in what Alvin is talking about, because this is fascinating stuff, and if you feel that this is something you would benefit, because in my opinion, everybody would benefit from what Alvin has in his clinic, from the Superhuman Wellness protocols that he has. So please connect with us. You can email us, support@drlizcruz.com. Support@drlizcruz.com. All right, stay tuned for our next episode. We will catch you on the next one.
Thank you for joining Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato. To learn more about their revolutionary products and services, go online to www.drlizcruz.com.